Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Python X35, and today I'd like to start a new mini-series that I'm going to call Tips and Tricks. It's very original, I know. The purpose of this series is to just pass along some of the knowledge or building techniques that I've acquired through the years to maybe help you guys as you're building your parks. I don't know how many episodes I'm going to do in this series. It just depends on how helpful or successful they are. If they're not that helpful, then I probably won't do that many. If they are helpful, then I'll probably do more. I have a few planned for the future at some point, but what I'd really like to do is really just leave it up to you guys. If you see something that I do as I'm building my parks that you think looks cool or interesting and you'd like to know how to do it, or if you have an idea of something that you'd like to get my opinion on, just post it in the comments, let me know, and I will see what I can do. With all that said, I'd like to kick off this series with a cool little trick that I have learned, and that is how to make a perfectly curved intersection. So, as you can see, I have two already pre-built. One has these nice, perfectly angled 90-degree curves. It's a four-way intersection. And then the other does not have nice curves. It's kind of just thrown together. Not that great. You guys probably can build better, but I just threw this together just to make a point. So the way the pads work in this game is they like to connect at harder angles. They don't really like to curve into each other. So that's why you get these weird, semi-curves right here, where it kind of like loops in and then does a harder curve into the path, because then it wants to make a stronger connection point right there. Now, there is a way to get around that, and that's what this episode is all about. So why don't we go ahead and get started. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to lay out a couple of individual pad segments. So we're going to do 4 in each direction. And then we want to find the middle point. We're going to do another 4, 2, 3, and 4. So the way this works is you have a path connection point here, and then you have a path connection point here. Now this connection point is already connected to this other path segment. This connection point is not connected to anything, so you have more free range to turn the path at different angles that you want to go. This one is connected at 2 points, so you don't have as many free angles. So essentially what we want to do is create a new set of connection points, just like this one. Now, how do we do that? Well, let's zoom in and let's try to find the connection point. It's right here. You can tell because it is locked. I'm moving the mouse back and forth, but the path segment is not moving. So here is the connection point. Now let's come off the connection point and try to come back in slowly. Don't connect. You can tell when you're close enough because the solid line, will start to veer off at an angle, and you can see the dotted line up at the top. Once you've got that, place down a segment piece. Now the reason that we're doing this is, and the reason why you want it to be so close, is because the game it actually can't really tell when pads are this close and they're overlapping. It's just assuming that they're connected, so you won't have any connection point issues with buildings saying, hey, we're not connected to, the park entrance. Now that we have our connection point down, or our segment down, we want to come in even closer, get out the delete tool, and you can see that you can delete each one of these segments. There's actually an additional segment in the middle. You can see this tiny little sliver that is now highlighted. You delete that. And once you've done that, you've essentially made 2 brand new connection points right there, right on top of each other. And the pads are essentially still connected. You can't even tell that they're two separate paths at this point. So why don't we come back up here, find the other connection point, use that technique again, bring it in, the path starts to veer, put down the segment, delete it, delete the sliver. Now you got to be careful because it's a really skinny piece of path, so you can easily delete one of the other two that you don't want to. Once you've deleted that, bring out your path segment again, and you can see that we now have a free range connection point in either direction because you can see that the line is solid, and you can drag the new path in that direction. So let's turn it back to curve mode, and voila. Now you can see here that this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. The path wants to connect at these weird curved angles. So we just made a brand new connection point. All we have to do is just drag it a little bit, and it will auto calculate into a better curve. And there you go. You just place it down. Now there is another little trick here. You may have noticed that I started on the inside, and there was a reason for that. We have just made a full new segment that is connected right along to this piece out here. This inner piece basically stops right there at that intersection. So if we were to come in this way and place down a new segment, we can do it, but it gets a little bit harder to find the sliver. As you can see, what it wants to do is now delete the tiny little segment that is left on the outside. And you can see, if you pay attention real closely, you can actually see the segment lines on the top and bottom sticking out that you can try to delete. Now this is the problem. This is why I don't like doing it this way. So instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in from the other direction because I'm connecting to this, bigger path. This is one that's more connected. So I'll put down the segment and then boom, delete the sliver. We'll come over here and I'll do the same thing over here. Boom, delete the sliver, delete the segment, and connect the path. And there you go. We now have a perfectly angled tri-intersection. You can just keep doing this until you've acquired the intersection that you want. I'll go ahead and do one more just to showcase it again. So starting on the inner part, then coming to the outer part, delete the slivers. Gotta be careful to not delete the path that you don't want. And then make the connection. Boom. And you just keep doing that until you've gotten what you want. And then you can make super awesome, perfectly curved path intersections. You can do it at all sorts of different angles too. I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then kind of come at another angle here, 2, 3, 4. So why don't we try this one on for size? Why don't we do another section as well? Just because we can. So if we wanted to make a tri-course intersection, we'll just do this. Find the connection point. And I always like to start off in straight mode because it's easier to see when the path starts veering because it goes from the straight line to the dotted line. You can do it either way, it doesn't really matter, but I like to start off with the straight segment. Again, come over here, do the same thing. This might be a little too wide. Let me actually come into the middle segment instead. So you don't want to make it too wide, otherwise you won't be able to make the connection. Because paths, they obviously have limits on their length as well. Now you can stretch that length sometimes, but it really just depends on how far you're stretching it. So bring it in, boom. And now we have this, again, perfectly curved intersection right there. We can do the same thing over here. Find the segment, bring it in, put down the segment, and then delete the slivers. Okay. And there you go. And like I said, you just keep doing that until you've gotten the intersection that you want. So, that's pretty much it. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any other ideas or things you'd like me to cover, again, just post it in the comments. Otherwise, I will catch you in the next one. Thanks.